The space where we started was the Erskine and American Church, and there was a lot of solace in that space. We really enjoyed working in that space. It's a beautiful space, and there was a gym upstairs, a basketball court, so we could shoot hoops to blow off some steam. We had our meetings there, and we really liked being away from the university. There were a lot of intense university politics, and we, the people who founded the People's Potato, we were an autonomous worker-run collective, and we felt like it was really important for us to have our own space, to have control over what we were doing. The CSU at the time were tremendous allies, but they also had an agenda, and it wasn't an agenda that we necessarily always wanted to endorse. Their methodology wasn't the way we always wanted to work, and so we really wanted to always be clear that we were 100% autonomous. The people who made the decisions about how the service was operated were the people who were working, the workers in that collective, and that was our organizational methodology. So being separate from the university was very valuable. But we had problems. So in January 2000, when we started the food service, it was really cold in Montreal. And this kitchen at the Erskine and American Church had a domestic fridge, and that's where we stored our produce, or some of our produce. That's where we stored the more perishable stuff. But the majority of our produce, and we would probably be going through in the ballpark of 700 or 800 pounds of produce a week, was stored in the pantry. And when it was very cold, we would crack the window open a little bit. And when it was less cold, we would crack the window a lot. And obviously, for food service purposes, we're looking to try to achieve a temperature between 0 degrees and 4 degrees Celsius. And based on how much we opened the window, we would try to achieve that. By March 2000, we were no longer able to keep our produce cold. And we had literally hundreds of pounds of rotting produce in this pantry. And we actually stopped service for a week in March. We said, we can't keep going. We have these structural problems. And at the time, the service became really popular. There's basically every issue of the Link or the Concordian talked about us and what we were doing and why it was so exciting. And our lineups were out the door. We were feeding 250, 300 people every day. And we just didn't have the access to the refrigeration anymore to be able to continue. It was a real impediment. And we had other issues too, like Java U existed. We were serving in the basement below Reggie's, and we needed to wash all those dishes. And we were washing all the dishes in the Java U kitchen there. And it was out of the kindness of the owners of Java U to let us use that space, and we really used that space. And that was excellent and great, and we stored some of the dishes there and stuff like that. But so we were always we were managing a lot of different spaces, and we were putting a lot of energy into carting things around to different places. So, but we were willing and we were happy to do that. But the key thing that happened to us was the refrigeration. So at the time, the CSU had a general manager who was Rick Stamm, and he was, let's say, a very able or very persuasive individual in terms of dealing with the university administration. And on our behalf, he demanded that the university give us one of their walk-in fridges here on the 7th floor, that they make that available for us. And the university agreed, responded to our crisis of shutting down by saying, sure, you can have one of these walk-in fridges. So that was great, and it resolved our problem. But it resulted in another complicated issue, which was that every morning we'd start at the Erskine and American Church at 7 o'clock or 7:30 or whatever time we were starting, and we would have to come up here into the university, 7th floor, load up carts and boxes of food from the fridge, bring it down to the ground floor, cross back to the church, and then up, and it was really labor intensive. We did that from March until the end of our serving, which was at the end of May, or mid-May, I guess. But at that point, we really had to really think about what our service meant and what we were doing. And as a collective, we had some meetings and said, do we want to try to eke out some kitchen space on the 7th floor? And we were really conflicted because there was a lot of sanctuary in an emotional way, because what we were doing was really hard. We were working really long hours, and there was a lot of infighting and challenges working within the CSU, as supportive as they were. But the CSU was at loggerheads with the university administration. And so there was just a lot of tension in general, a lot of tension around the student politics between left-wing factions and right-wing factions within the student governance systems. There were factions between the CASA the Commerce and Administration Student Association, the Engineering and Computer Sciences Student Association. They were trying to separate from the CSU. There were all these different kinds of alignments and fighting going on, and we really liked being able to disappear to our space where we were wholly welcome. And so we had some difficult collective meetings about what to do. We also talked about the idea of trying to raise funds to do a major renovation at the Erskine and American Church to accommodate ourselves as a kitchen. I think that space is being used for something else. I think the Musée des Beaux-Arts jumped in there and took over that space now. But and so we had some preliminary discussions about that, but ultimately we had to make, I mean, we all agreed with some sadness that we needed to relocate ourselves to the to the 7th floor, and that was also fitting with our dream, and me and Mike Barkey coming up here before the potatoes started, dreaming of taking over some of this industrial kitchen space, and so we set about doing that, and the university at that time was very open to it, and Sodexo was open to it, and Sodexo, ourselves, the CSU, and the administration reached an agreement that they would give us a portion of this kitchen, which was great. So then September 2000, we were cooking in this kitchen here. We weren't squatting it. We had full agreement from the university. They gave us a different walk-in fridge, the one that adjoins this kitchen, and that was the start of us using this kitchen in September 2000.